Welcome to the Soul Science Nutrition Podcast, where you'll discover that when it comes to your health, you're so much more powerful than you've been led to believe. And now, your host. She's a holistic nutrition and lifestyle coach, chef, author, and yogi, Christine O'Casey.
Hello, and welcome to Soul Science Nutrition. I'm Christine O'Casey. Thanks so much for being here today. On today's show, I am so excited and blessed to have one of my most influential teachers in my own personal journey of healing around food. I have Marc David here. He is the founder and primary teacher at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. I completed my certification at the Institute to become an eating psychology coach back in 2013, and the knowledge and the skills I acquired from Marc became the foundation for my mind-body nutrition coaching practice. So you can't believe how excited and over the moon I am to have him as our special guest today. So in case you don't already know, Marc David is a visionary teacher and consultant in nutritional psychology. He's the author of the classic, groundbreaking, best-selling books, The Slow Down Diet and Nourishing Wisdom. And for over 3 decades, Marc has really been an innovator in eating psychology and nutrition. You'll see how his non-dogmatic, positive, and inspiring messages about food and our metabolism have made him a nationally recognized teacher and a well-loved presenter. His talks, articles, and interviews have been featured on countless media outlets. Marc shows us how to explore our food, weight, and body image challenges by addressing the emotional and spiritual aspects of our lives so we can give ourselves the true nourishment we need to heal. Marc invites us to cultivate an explorative relationship with food. This is powerful medicine for transforming our habits. He reveals, in fact, how our relationship with food reflects our relationship to life itself. Marc's wisdom speaks to that deep hunger in all of us. Now, before we get started, I want to let you know about a special giveaway that we're going to be having related to this episode. It's a contest. It's called the Mind Body Nutrition with Marc David Podcast Review Contest. And so by doing 3 things, you can win personalized signed copies of Marc's 2 best-selling books, The Slow Down Diet and Nourishing Wisdom. The link to enter the contest is on my website, energeticnourishment.com, as well as in the show notes on my website for this episode. And there are 3 ways to earn points to be selected to win these amazing prizes. Number 1, leave a podcast rating and review on Apple Podcast. Number 2, follow me on Instagram at Energetic Nourishment. And 3, like my Facebook page at Energetic Nourishment. The contest starts today, and a winner will be drawn randomly 7 days from now. And so once again, the prizes are a personalized autographed copy of Marc's The Slow Down Diet and Nourishing Wisdom. You won't want to miss out. These are absolutely gifts of gold that will empower you so much in your journey. So get ready for an empowering conversation that reminds us that true health is a journey of self-evolution. Hello, Marc David, and welcome to the podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Christine. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, it's really my pleasure. So you've played such a significant role in my journey, and I'm excited to share the principles of eating psychology, which really, dives into relationship with food, and the understanding that it goes so much more beyond the eat this and eat that. And I think people are really looking for freedom, in that relationship with food. And I think you offer a beautiful path and a set of tools with that. So, but before we dive in, I just want to understand if you could kindly share, your journey. Can you describe the journey you've been on to create the Institute for the Psychology of Eating?
Ooh, what a great question. What a big question. I think like so many people who get into health and or personal growth as a profession, it's often driven by our own journey, our own needs, our own challenges. And for me, I came into this world sickly, asthmatic, immune challenged, had all kinds of health issues. And this was I was born in the late 50s. So this was at a time when it was all, infant formula and TV dinners and everything artificial. And, at some point I was so desperate for health as a young child. I asked my mother to change my diet. I was about 5 years old.
Wow.
And I had heard a rumor that fruits and vegetables were good for you. So I asked her to get apples and peas and carrots in a can, because somehow that was my concept of fruits and vegetables. Coincidence or not, my health started to change. And I became a bit of a food fanatic in a positive way. From a very young age. I started experimenting, and that led to a love of nutrition, which led to studying nutrition in college and graduate school. And eventually, that led to coaching and counseling other people. Back in the early 80s, I was in my 20s, and nutrition there weren't many nutrition books out there. You can read all the sort of holistic nutrition books in a couple of weeks. There just wasn't a lot. And at some point working with clients, I noticed that, I tell people, okay, here's your problem. Got it. You want to lose weight, or you want to do this, or you want to get healthier, eat this and don't eat that. And people would come to me a few weeks later and say, I know what you told me to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. I just can't do it.
Yes.
And I remember thinking to myself, if I don't begin to understand the psychology of eating, then I actually can't help people. All the nutrition knowledge in the world does not serve me. Yes. So I say to myself, well, let me go read a book on eating psychology. And there wasn't any. Let me go take a course. There wasn't any. Let me even go back to school and learn it somewhere. Yes. There wasn't any. So at that moment, I decided to write the book that I wanted to read. Yes. But in order to write that book, I had to do a lot of studying and a lot of living and a lot of trial and a lot of error. And so eventually went back to school, got my psychology degree, started testing out different things on people. And eventually, after many thousands of client hours, I started to gain some proficiency. And that's when I started the Institute, when I was ready to teach other people things that I thought, this should be out there. Because when it comes to eating psychology, it used to be either eating disorders or nothing.
Yes.
So either you have anorexia and bulimia, and you can go get help, but that's 2% of the population or less. What about the other 99% of us who have a relationship with food, who want to lose some weight, who overeat, who binge eat, who emotionally eat?
Yes.
Who feel like we're stuck in a food prison. That's a hugely underserved group of people. So that's what inspired me to just do something different and help people.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, you filled a very, very, big gap in the whole conversation around food and health and weight. And in the book, one of your two books, the Slowdown Diet, it was really quite revolutionary, because what it said is, yes, food, what you eat is important, and all the nutritional, components are actually really, really important. But we need to look at your role as the eater. We need to look at the relationship that you're going to bring to the table, as you like to say. And you started to look at these things called pleasure and awareness and relaxation, which again flies in the face of the conventional, diet mentality, which is restriction and deprivation. And I am so with you on that, because that in and of itself, being able to have that be the conversation when it comes to someone who's struggling with food is a game changer, because the person all of a sudden gets to go, wait, you mean I don't have to live in fear and shame and hate myself into health? And right there, you're on a completely different trajectory. So what are some of those key, eating psychology principles? Let's talk about relaxation.
Relaxation, on the one hand, it might sound so simplistic, but there is a very powerful physiologic component to relaxation as it relates to eating, as it relates to nutrition, as it relates to metabolism. And really, it's sort of the simple science that we've known since the 1930s, which is that when a human being, or any organism for that matter, is in a stress response, is in a fight or flight response. So that's the stress response is really a brilliant adaptive mechanism to help protect me and you when that big gorilla is chasing us. You know, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, all your energy is rerouted into arms and legs for fighting and fleeing. Blood rushes to your head for quick thinking. And when you're running or fighting for your life, your digestive system completely shuts down.
Yes.
Because, you know, you want all your metabolic energy going into survival. So in the stress state, which is also called sympathetic nervous system dominance, digestion is literally shut off in a full-blown stress response. Our appetite is deregulated. Mm-hmm. Simply put, you don't need to be thinking about chocolate or your next meal when you're being chased by the gorilla.
Yes.
Now, what happens is a lot of us human beings, because of life, we're walking around in some stress and some anxiety and some fear and some discord just because of life. Mm-hmm. And the brain does not distinguish between a real or an imagined threat. Mm-hmm. So when you and I are simply experiencing, oh my God, this is a rough day. I don't like myself. I don't like this person. I'm too fat. I'm too this. I'm too that. Whenever the brain registers stress, all of a sudden, even if it's not a full-blown stress response, stress is a graded response, meaning even mild to moderate stress will signal the body to diminish digestion and as well deregulate appetite, which can mean you lose your appetite or you become extremely hungry during stress, one of the two. And in a prolonged stress response, meaning if you feel stressed all week long because of a work project, in a prolonged stress response, you're going to produce more cortisol and insulin. Those hormones signal the body to store weight, store fat, not build muscle, which is the opposite of what so many people want. So what's happening in the opposite, when you and I are in a relaxation response, parasympathetic nervous system dominance, that's when the body knows, oh, I am ready to eat. I am relaxed. I'm not running from a gorilla. My life is safe. So all my metabolic energy can go into digestion, assimilation, believe it or not, calorie burning. Actually, calorie burn best on a day in, day out level in a relaxation response.
Yes.
People think if I'm all wired and stressed, I'm burning more calories. Yeah, in the hour that you're exercising, sure, you burn a lot of calories, but you're only exercising an hour a day.
Yes.
The other 23 hours a day is when you're burning the majority of your calories. So the point is, the body is literally designed. It's designed to do its best digestion, assimilation, appetite regulation, and calorie burning in a relaxation response. So that should be headline news.
Yeah.
At the front page of every newspaper and every health magazine and every nutrition book. Because what happens is everybody's taught, well, if you want to have good nutrition and good health, what should you do? Eat the right foods, don't eat the wrong foods, which is true, but it's only half the story of good nutrition. Because if you and I are not in the optimum state of metabolism, then you could eat the healthiest food on the planet, but you're not going to get the full value from that meal. We will literally excrete nutrients, vitamins, minerals, etc., in a stress response.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, we have to get the body in the proper setting, which I love, because what that does, that means that you actually have the power. You have more power to create the kind of metabolism and the kind of functioning that for far too long, everybody's been told you is out of your control. Right? But you actually get to step into the full capacity of, as you said, this beautiful design that we have. We just need to, it's like getting a toy at Christmas. We need to know the right settings. Otherwise we don't get to, get all the fun parts, working in our favor. So I love that. And one of the things that you talk about is, and there's so many studies now to back this up, which is without changing anything, the nutritional components of our meal, right? If we change how we eat the meal, in other words, how we get our body in that parasympathetic nervous system setting, the metabolism of that meal is completely changed. That's, again, should be headline news.
It is remarkable. And like you say, it puts the power back in our hands. We tend to give food all the power. We think, oh, this food is what's going to make me healthy or make me ill. And again, yes, there's a certain truth to that, but it's our inner world that is driving our metabolism constantly. Even a stressful thought, a self-attacking thought. Now think about that. A self-attacking thought. I'm no good. I'm too fat. I'm not lovable. Nobody's going to like me if I look like this. So that attack is literally perceived by your brain as an attack. And we will literally go into some degree of stress response, which creates a physiologic change. It creates a cascade of fascinating stress chemistry, again, which for most people ultimately signals the body to store weight, store fat, not build muscle, don't digest your food, again, which is the opposite of health.
There's a lot of emotional eating going on right now, in particular, given the pandemic, the quarantine, the rapidly changing world that we're living in. And there's a lot of panic and there's a lot of stress around this. How can we advise? How can we inspire people with this knowing of what you do with your internal world is really where your focus should be?
Lovely question. Let me start by saying I love emotional eating. Most people, when they hear the term emotional eating, they want to run. Or if we have ever found ourselves emotionally eating, or if we label ourselves as an emotional eater, we generally look at it as this terrible thing. And the reason why I say I love emotional eating is because humans are emotional. We're emotional creatures.
Yes.
Everything we do just about has emotion attached to it. If you go back to your primal experience on earth, you pop out of mama's womb, and here's a moment where you're crying and you're screaming and you're complaining, and all of a sudden you get mama and you get the bottle or you get the breast.
Yes.
And within less than 5 seconds, we go from crying, screaming little infant to relaxed, to happy, to content, to safe. Because in that moment, you're being held, touched, loved, sung to, you feel safety, you feel food. It's all one experience to an infant.
Yes.
So we remember in our DNA, we remember in our cells, we remember from our earliest memories and from every ancestor before us, feel bad, eat food, feel better. So everybody has that wiring. You could be a starving human being crawling through the desert and come to an oasis of food, feel bad, eat food, feel better.
Yes.
Have a bad day at work or school, feel bad, eat food, feel better. So when you eat, you go to your favorite restaurant. It makes you feel good. You go to somebody's house. You love to eat with them. It makes you feel good. Okay, yeah, and there's other times when we sit down and we eat and we're stressed and we're nervous and we're using food to relax ourselves. My whole point is that let's get on board with the fact that we're emotional creatures.
Yeah.
And you know, what would be the opposite of emotional eating? Unemotional eating? That doesn't sound interesting.
No.
So part of it is first being on board with this is how we're wired. We are wired to love food. We are wired physiologically, neurologically to relax when we experience food. That's even neutral to us. If the food pleases you, it relaxes you even more. So that's how we're wired.
Yes.
What a good thing. Now that gets out of hand sometimes. So sometimes we can use food as a way to relax ourselves, and it starts to become problematic. Oh my God, I'm eating too much food. So great. There is a beautiful opportunity to grow.
Yes.
And to me, that's why we're here. We're not here we weren't born on this earth to lose weight. We weren't born on this earth to become a perfect eater. We're
Right.
born here to learn and grow and
Yes.
expand and become our truest self.
Mm.
And one of the ways that we do that is we learn through our challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the places many of us are challenged is our relationship with food.
Yes.
So here I am. I'm turning to food to soothe my emotions. Oh my goodness, I don't like this. It's not serving me. I feel guilty afterwards. I feel full. My body doesn't feel right. Every part of me knows I don't want to be doing that, but I still do that anyway. Right. Now we have our classroom.
Yes.
Now we know this is the place I'm going to be learning, and learning's not always easy. So our relationship with food in this instance is asking us to grow.
Yes.
It's asking us to better learn how to regulate my emotions such that I don't always have to reach for food. What else regulates my emotions? Is it walking my dog? Is it talking to my best friend, talking to my partner, going out in nature, playing some music? What is it that helps relax me? So these things aren't necessarily easy to quickly do, but that's our practice. Our practice becomes, how do I become a better person and learn how to regulate my emotions better and better so it works for me?
I love that. Thank you. So self-acceptance, right? It really kind of dissolves the demonizing of our habit, even if it's an unwanted habit, right? So we stop blaming and shaming ourselves and we recognize. So our emotional eating becomes an opportunity for self-observation and self-reflection, right? Stepping into that observer role as opposed to the drill sergeant or the judge when it comes to how we do food, right? And that, like you said, is this beautiful invitation to work with it, right? And to transform it, as you said, looking for the gold, looking for the lesson, looking for the opportunity to evolve. And I love this because this is really core to the wisdom that you've shared in your teachings, is that there's gold in every challenge. And what better opportunity, to talk about that, in this time where most of us, as you said, are struggling with food one way or the other. But it's really curious that we need to embrace, I guess, is what you're saying, really embrace the difficulty and the challenge, which is so hard to do. It goes really against our nature, isn't it?
Yes, it is hard to do because we somehow make food the problem. We make my appetite the problem. My hunger is the problem. I'm broken because I can't stop myself, and that's a problem. No, it's not a problem. It's an opportunity to grow and expand. Another way to language it is to say that our relationship with food is simply a great teacher.
Yeah.
And it's our job to listen to the lessons that it's asking us to learn. And sometimes life's lessons are not easy for us. Sometimes there's lessons that just come natural to me and you. Sometimes, you pick up that tennis racket and, oh my God, I'm good at this. This is fun. Or you jump in the water and you go, oh, wow, I love swimming. I can do this. And there's other things we struggle. And food is, at this time, for so much of humanity, food and our relationship with it is a struggle. And all I'm saying is, great, it's a struggle. Let's lean into that struggle a little bit and let's see, what can I learn? How could this make me a better person? How can I use the very challenge, emotional eating, at a time when I'm staying home or I'm not working or I have a lot of stress? How can I use this time to really look at, okay, how else can I really take care of myself?
Yeah.
And it's an act of really self-evolution where we're calling ourselves to grow. We're making efforts. We're practicing. And we're not going to be perfect every day. And I think that's what gets in the way for a lot of people. We think we need to be perfect eaters. I need to eat exactly what I say I want to eat, and I need to eat exactly what I think I should eat, and I shouldn't overeat. I shouldn't emotionally eat. And here's the thing, humans overeat.
Yeah.
Humans emotionally eat. Humans binge eat. And probably one of the greatest things we can do when we do those things is to forgive oneself, first and foremost.
Yes, that's huge.
If your child was overeating, would you smack them and punish them and constantly berate them and tell them how bad they are? If they were crying, no, you give them a big hug and say it's okay.
Yeah.
And we as adults, we need that same sense of self-care and self-nurturance to not beat oneself up when you do something that doesn't fall under the headline of perfection.
Yeah. Okay. So another gift in this is self-compassion, right? So the self-compassion and we are our, our own worst enemy sometimes when it comes to food and weight and body image. It's part of the conditioning almost in the culture. That how do you help people? Because I notice this a bit, and it's a good place to work, where there's this belief that if I'm nice to myself, yet alone accepting myself, that I might just be fat and lazy and broken forever, right? It's really it's a lot of resistance around being kind and gentle around our food and weight issues.
Yes, and that's, people have a fear that if they're kind to themselves around food, that all heck is going to break loose and I'm going to just get so fat that it's my life is ruined. And that's the voice of fear. That's the voice of the part of us that absolutely doesn't trust our own body, that doesn't trust our own incarnation, that doesn't trust the wisdom of this existence. You and I were designed to be eaters. The body is brilliant in what it does. The mind and the emotions are brilliant in how it all works together. And, why would we want to eat really good food? Why would we want to have the ideal weight or the ideal shape and the ideal health? Well, chances are we want that because we imagine that's going to make me feel happy. If I do all those things,
right,
I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be the real me. I'm going to have energy. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to just step out there and say, ta-da, world, here I am. Well, if that's true, and I believe that's what people want from eating healthy and having their ideal body, then how could we think that if I punish myself along the way, I hate myself, I shouldn't have eaten that, I'm a bad person, I'm too fat, I'm this, I'm that. How could a journey filled with self-hate and self-attack possibly end up in a destination of self-love? It's impossible. It's
interesting. It's impossible. Physiologically, as you point out, it puts the body again under attack, right? So we're in the wrong setting once again. As you try to do all the right things, we're in the wrong setting. But it's impossible also, as you said, because it's nonsensical. We don't motivate our children that way. At least I hope we don't. Teachers don't motivate their students that way. At least we hope we don't, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but we have this habit of doing that around food and our inner chatter, I guess.
Right. And that's what needs to change, because that habit, you didn't invent that. Your friend didn't invent that. It's been around. And it really lives in the world. It's truly, to me, that's a real virus.
Yes.
Meaning it's a viral belief. We catch it. And we don't realize we catch it. We catch it at a young age because our TVs and our movies and our magazines and these days our websites and our internets and our YouTubes, everything is constantly filled with reminders of beautiful images of people that we are not. I am not that Photoshop person. So we're constantly seeing those images. We're constantly seeing those images of people, those people being glorified and worshiped. Oh, if I want to be loved, I need to be that.
Yes.
And then we are given solutions. Well, because I'm not that person, I don't look like that. The only possible way I can move in that direction is through diet and exercise. So if I diet like crazy and exercise like crazy, I can then be lovable.
Mm.
And the way we're taught to diet and exercise is in a very disembodied, self-hating way, because you're trying to hate away your fat.
Yes.
You're trying to hate away your body. This is no good. I'm going to hate this away by restricting calories, restricting food, restricting pleasure, trying to control my appetite. And we're going against biology. We're going against our own soul, thinking that we can hate ourselves into a place where we love ourselves.
Thank you. I love that. So deprivation, shame, self-loathing goes against our biology and goes against the voice of our soul. That's so powerful. Now, you mentioned that we approach our struggles with food and weight in a very disembodied, self-loathing way. So you talk a lot about in your work disembodiment and how that's a real obstacle to getting where we want to go. You know, for example, I work with many clients who really don't want to have anything to do per se with their bodies, being in their bodies, feeling their bodies, having a relationship with their body, looking at their body, yet alone contemplating the potential or possibility of befriending their bodies is really, you know, a very challenging mindset to have and to embrace. But it really becomes that problem when we're living disconnected and disembodied. So you teach a lot about that, and I'd love for you to kind of explain more why we actually need to shift that to perspective.
Yes, and you know what I mean when I say that, and what I think you're meaning is what often happens for us, just being alive on planet Earth. The body is oftentimes a place of a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Our bodies literally experience physiologic pain. I fell, I hurt myself. So there's pain. Sometimes there's a lot of pain. Sometimes the pain is I was harmed, I was abused. Sometimes the pain is somebody said something very critical about me, or very unkind about me, and we take those unkind criticisms and we make them our own, and all of a sudden we repeat them to ourselves. So if you're told you're no good, you're not attractive, you're not going to be loved, you're too fat, we take those and we turn them into our own mantras that we repeat to ourselves.
Yes.
And what happens is it then becomes painful to be in my body, because this is not a good place to be. This is the wrong body. This is not my body. So what do? We strangely step out of it. We exit it. We're not really in it. I'm not moving it. I'm not loving it. I'm not nourishing it. I'm not singing to it. I'm not walking it. I'm not taking it out in nature. I'm not caring for it. I'm criticizing it. I'm judging it. And I'm trying to beat it into submission. And we bargain with the universe. We say, but if I have the body that I want, then I'll get inside. Then I'm going to step in and say, here I am, world. I'm now the real me. So people think when I look a certain way, then I will inhabit my body. Not true. I find for most people who've lost weight, if one has not sought to embody, and it doesn't matter how much you weigh. It's you know, in classic anorexic humans, they're not in their body. They're very disembodied. They're floating above everything else. They've kind of left their body. We all have ways that we escape the body, and it's not bad. You know, sleep, you escape the body.
Sure.
You let it go. Hard day at work, you come home, maybe you sit down and watch a movie. You're just kind of leaving the body. That's okay.
Yes.
But we need times where we enter it. And it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you weigh. If you want to shift your body, if you want to shape shift it, if you want to change it, then definitionally you got to be in it. If you want the car to go somewhere, you got to get in the car.
Yes.
If you want to shift your body, then you have to enter it. You have to learn, well, how does this thing like to move? What is this like to eat? What feels good? Let me begin to taste. Let me begin to notice my sensations. Oh, that food, that doesn't feel so good. That's embodiment. We're listening to the body.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. Yes, thank you. So bringing this new paradigm of how to see our bodies, how to work with our bodies in a friendly, in a healing way, I find we're one step away from the, exploring the realm of spirit, exploring the realm of the soul, because a lot of this we're working, it's so paradoxical. We're working with the physical body when it comes to diet and exercise, right? But all the places where we can actually affect change and, as you said, create lasting evolution is on the inside, on the non-physical, on the more subtle aspects of our being, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. So you talk about the metabolic power of the sacred. Help me through that a little bit. There's a lot of gold in that transformational component.
Well, there's so much to say there. I have noticed that everything about who we are impacts the body. Your relationships impact your body. If you're with a friend that you love and you feel safe with, and you feel a sense of trust, you relax. Mm-hmm. And in the state of relaxation, that is where all healing, maintenance, and repair of body tissue happens. So if you and I literally just want to heal my physical body, I need to be in a state of relaxation in order to do healing, maintenance, and repair of any body tissue. So that which relaxes us promotes healing. That which relaxes us, remember, also promotes digestion, assimilation, natural calorie burning ability, promotes health on every level. So what else relaxes us? Yeah, music relaxes me. Having a sense of trust in life.
Yes.
Talk about the ultimate relaxor in any moment, because you can have people have difficult challenges. We all go through very emotional times in life, and those times often call for faith and trust. Faith and trust are other ways of saying a really deep relaxation response. You have to relax in the face of, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? Oh my God, how am I going to get through this pain or this challenge? Sometimes we have to simply have faith in something greater than ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that faith literally creates the deepest relaxation response in the body. Faith is, I would consider it more of a spiritual or a soulful or a religious quality or a sacred quality, however you want to name it. If I am walking around believing, you're born, eat a bunch of food, you gather a bunch of toys, and then you die. Nothing else matters. Life is meaningless. We're just a bunch of random molecules slammed together. That's a very pessimistic outlook. And that will color one's life.
Yes.
That will not enliven us. That's not going to make you happy. That's not necessarily going to engender a lot of pleasure in one's life. It's going to rob us of a certain place that we go to when we feel meaning. Because when you and I are feeling meaning and purpose, we feel empowered, we feel lighter, we feel relaxed, and meaning and purpose in my life. Like, why am I here? Why the heck am I born? Mm-hmm. What's my life about? If I don't have a meaning and a purpose, guess what? It doesn't matter what I eat. Because I'm going to die anyway. Why should I take care of myself? First time I realized this distinction. Oh, my goodness. I was in my early 30s. I was counseling. I had a bunch of older men clients. And I started to notice an interesting similarity with my male clients in their 50s and 60s. I noticed a lot of them were coming to see me because their wives told them to come and see me. And their wives had told them, you need to take better care of yourself. You need to lose weight. You eat like crap. You need to go get help. So here they are. They're in my office. And I'll ask, why are you here? My wife told me to be here. Interesting. I need you to help me is what they'll say. I need you to help motivate me to eat better and to take care of myself. And I'll ask, well, you want me to motivate? Like, so what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to stand by your side every time you eat? And come on, you could eat that food. So what I started noticing was that this particular group of men that I was seeing, they'd already raised kids. They already did the family thing, and they already did their career thing, and they didn't have a purpose in life anymore.
Yeah.
They didn't have something good to live for.
Yes.
And because they didn't have a dream, they didn't have a vision, they didn't have a purpose. Yes, I just eat whatever I want. Why should you eat good at that point? Because there's no reason to. So we have to have a reason, a purpose to eat healthy. That's more than just, I look good.
Yeah.
Looking good is great. That's fine. But when we move into the sacred, to the spiritual, that is about meaning and purpose. And from that place, being healthy serves the purpose of you being alive so you can nourish your loved ones, so you can care for your children, so you can do your good work in the world. That's why we should be healthy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that exercise and eat well, and they're doing everything great, and that's all they do.
It's your I call it the come from, it's like, if there's nothing wrong with wanting to have a good body and look good and feel good, there's nothing inherently wrong. It's not 100%, egoic in that negative sense, but it's your why. And what's the energy you're bringing to your goal setting around that, right? As you said, is it just so that you're more concerned about you'll be judged the right way, I've met the mark, and it's this kind of superficial cosmetic why when it comes to setting health and weight goals, right? And what you're asking is, we need to dive deeper, not just for esoteric philosophical reasons, but the truth of the matter is, if we're all looking for inspiration and motivation, right? We need to get to the root of what truly inspires us. And that root, I find, is purpose and connection to this life that's right here, right? And as you said, we're not here to, on my gravestone, wow, she really controlled her calories, or she stayed a size 6, for 80 years. Great, So, but the idea is as what I'm hearing, is to really understand that any nutritional goal set or way that we are around food is to help us connect with the most expressed or the most authentic version of ourselves, right? Or the most authentic way to step into a life that we can really thrive. You're getting to, a very interesting place to work with people, because it's, I'm not inspired. Oh, it's just, I have no more motivation, right? So how do we light that spark?
It's helping people correct, and hang in there with me when I say this, it's helping people correct their religion.
Yeah.
And what happens is people will make weight loss their actual religion. And when I say their actual religion, meaning they're worshiping it, they put their weight loss goal up on their altar, and it becomes their deity. It becomes their god. It becomes their goddess. And they're thinking about it every day. They're praying to it every day. They're getting on the scale every day where I'm dieting, I'm counting calories, whatever I do, people create their rituals. And they create their religious kind of words and conversation. You can do this, or you're no good, or whatever it is that we're telling ourselves. But we make it our everything, as if when I have that perfect body and that perfect diet and that perfect weight, then ta-da, I'm this great creature. And meanwhile, we've put aside our life. Who do I want to be? How do I want to conduct myself? How am I doing? And of course, people who say, well, I'm not inspired about my diet. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Really what they're saying is, I'm not inspired about my life. I don't have places that I really want to live into. I haven't found where my passion is, where my interest is, where my purpose is.
Yes.
I'm not feeling connection. I'm not feeling intimacy. I don't have the love that I want. That's more interesting to me. That's That's really what's happening when somebody says, oh, I don't know how to motivate myself to lose weight. Well, because weight is not your problem.
Yes.
It's just the extra weight. Yeah, if you want to lose it, great. But it's oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes for people, it's really just a symptom.
Or a kind of a way to avoid working with, what really needs your attention.
Bingo. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you. So one of the things you talk about is we never arrive. And I love the way you talk about it's never a ta-da moment. There are a few ta-da moments, but there's no final ta-da moment when it comes to health and transformation and all of it. So we never fully arrive. However, what I found is that there are some qualities that you can look for when it comes to mastering this whole relationship with food. And what I think is so interesting, you call it the expert eaters in your book. And you say, these are the qualities of the expert eaters. They haven't figured everything out, but they figured it quite a lot. And by the way, being an expert eater has nothing to do with body shape, body weight, or your food choices. Right? It has everything to do with, again, all this kind of internal mindset. So one of the things you talk about is they eat with freedom, without fear, worry, and guilt, and they eat with joy, and they accept that the body is always changing, and therefore my food will evolve accordingly. And I can tell you in my journey, that came, after a lot of inner work, because that was, I thought, to be a masterful eater. Once, especially if you learn all the nutrition and everything, right, is, well, I've got my omegas and I've got my B vitamins and look at all the greens that I'm eating. But then I started to realize it's actually so much more than that. It's so much more relaxed. It's so much more like, okay, it's food. You know what I mean? So what I'm getting at is there's this obsessive quality or this fixation quality, energy, that I'm trying to work with people to just relax. It's good to have the details. It's good to know all this stuff. But can we bring a whole different energy to your issues around food, right? I mean, isn't that kind of what it's the energy that you bring to the work around our food and weight issues?
Yes, it's helping people see, where are you coming from in your efforts to want to eat well? Where are you coming from? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes what's motivating them is fear of disease, fear of death, fear of getting sick, fear of not being healthy. I don't want to get cancer. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. So I better eat healthy. I find that that's not so healthy for people. Yes. I would rather people be inspired to eat because they love how good health feels. Yes. I love the feeling of good health. That's what motivates me. That's what inspires me. I am not eating the way I eat so I can avoid disease. Is that in there? Sure. But I so love the feeling of feeling good that's an inspiration. So I'm coming from a love of feeling good. So consequently, there's more love in my experience of eating.
Isn't that interesting?
Many people are motivated to eat how they're eating because they're afraid of body fat. Mm-hmm. And secretly, food is actually the enemy. Yes. So I have to figure out, how do I eat a meager amount of food, or how do I avoid fat, or how do I avoid protein? How do I make myself eat more salads? Because everybody knows salad is the holiest of all foods somehow. So, but really what's motivating them is, I want to lose weight, or I want to maintain this weight. And if I don't lose this weight or maintain this weight, then all heck is going to break loose. Yeah. So it's fear that's driving our behaviors. And whenever fear is driving our behaviors day in and day out, then that's what we're growing. That's what we're creating. That's what we're nurturing. We're just creating a fear garden. And that's not going to be so good.
Yeah. I mean, not fear of disease or fear of not looking good. That can't be the core motivation, which unfortunately the diet industry tells you it is, right?
Yeah. Yes. And then we take our marching orders from that, not even realizing that that's what we're doing. And part of our job is to become independent thinkers and to become original within ourselves, meaning let me for a moment put aside everything I've learned about what's good for my body, what isn't, what I should do, what I shouldn't do, and start to gather my own information.
Yeah.
What feels good in my body? What doesn't feel so good when I eat it? How much feels good? How much doesn't feel good? Yes, I know you're not supposed to eat this and shouldn't eat that. What shows up when I eat these foods? So it's beginning to question that. Yes, I want people to rely and lean on the knowledge that they've learned. But if the knowledge we've learned is confusing our minds, if it's making us more upset and more distorted, this expert says this and that expert says that, which is the field of nutrition, by the way. It's a field of hundreds, if not thousands, of dueling experts who are all saying various things that are different. Yeah, there's some similarities. And once we understand that that's where the science is at right now, it's not a bunch of guys in white coats standing around all nodding their heads in agreement about what you should do, then we are free to become nutritional explorers.
Beautiful.
I heard a vegetarian diet is good for you. My girlfriend's on a vegetarian diet. She looks good. I want to try that. Great, go try it. Try being a vegetarian. Oh, your sister's paleo and she's loving it and she's eating all this meat that you wish you could eat. Great, try that. And then tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
And it's all a worthy experiment. And we do that with the joy of a true explorer. Let me try this and see what happens. And then you come to your own conclusions.
That's beautiful.
And you do what feels right. That's a fascinating way to go about it, because then you're free.
You're free. And again, you step into your own agency again when it comes to your health, right? And that's really what the name of the game is that freedom that we all really want. I hear that a lot. Well, what do you really want? I want freedom. And the only thing that's standing between you and freedom are your beliefs, and the thoughts that in the narratives that you believe are true and immutable. And this is so true around food. So thank you. I love this. So I want to ask you, Marc, so what makes you feel inspired these days? Speaking of inspiration and motivation, what makes you feel like your best self these days?
What's really been consistent for me in my life that inspires me is nature. It's very faithful for me in that way. It could be the mountains. It could be the jungle. It certainly is the ocean. It's a stream. It's a river. It's quiet. It's just being outside and letting nature speak to me and let it move me and let me feel like a natural being without all the noise. And, I find nature doesn't lie. It is what it is.
Beautiful.
It's very simple. And it's not asking a lot from me other than to just be aware and pay attention and notice. So
thank you.
That inspires me the most. I'm inspired by people who are thinking for themselves and coming up with new ways to see the same things that we're always looking at through the same eyes. So anything or anyone that helps me see the world differently in a way that expands me, I'm very interested in that. I find that to be very nourishing.
Yes.
And I get inspired when I see other people growing and opening up. That's why I do the work that I do, because I get to see people become more open, become more free, become more of themselves, let go of baggage that they just didn't need.
Yeah.
So much of what we really need to do is not more things. Oftentimes it's just actually doing less things or letting go of certain things that aren't serving us.
Indeed.
So I get inspired when I see people having their own openings, however they've done it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful place to work when you're in the realm of, self-evolution and personal transformation, because there's just always more and there's always so much newness to it. And and I get the nature part, because you don't feel that separation, I guess, that our 3D selves oftentimes are, the labels and the identities and the roles and responsibilities. Nature really is that fluid kind of field where all of a sudden you recognize, oh, I'm just part of this, and that kind of freedom, I think, allows us to, especially when it comes to these physical bodies, it just lightens us up. I mean, literally from the inside out. So that I totally get that. Thank you. So what are your best tips right now, I guess, for helping people navigate this changing world and their health?
I think one great thing to do is to, as best we can, consistently surround ourselves with people who are doing the kinds of things that we wish we were doing, or people that inspire us, or people that we see are navigating the world in good ways. Surround ourselves with good company. Surround yourself with people who help you grow, who help you let go, who help you expand, who help you feel more love, who help you see the world in a different way, in a better way. So I'm always looking to spend time with people that make me feel like, oh, this is why I want to be alive, because of people like you.
So important right now, right? And to be discerning with who we come in, who we allow into our journey, essentially, right? Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Thank you. Picky with food, picky with people, picky with how we spend our time, picky with our thoughts, right? Again, getting back in the driver's seat of recognizing everything we bring into our life is either nourishing or depleting, right, in our lives. Yeah. That's really what it is. So awesome. Okay. Well, I'd like to close with, Marc, do you have a favorite mantra or motto or something that, is playing on the radio station in your head every day that, gets you up and loving life?
A favorite mantra. These days, strange as it might sound, because life in these interesting times often feels a little bit like a battle for me. And because it feels like a battle sometimes, I just like to remind myself that I am victorious on all fronts. Meaning, in any part of my life, I can feel a sense of success. I can feel a sense of victory by my actions, by my behaviors, by my words, by my thoughts. So just to remind myself that in any part of life, I can feel a sense of victory. I can feel a sense of accomplishment just by how I bring myself to it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. It's been lovely. And is there anything maybe that I didn't ask you that I should have? Any upcoming program or late breaking news at the Institute that you'd love to talk about right now?
Well, just my plug for what we do. We have a professional training where we train people to be mind-body eating coaches or eating psychology coaches. And our next enrollment starts in the fall. So, psychologyofeating.com, that's our website. Just check us out. And it's a great coach training program.
It is the most amazing coach training program. It is life-changing. You will never be the same.
Thanks for saying that.
I can testify to that. Thank you, Marc. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Christine.
Take good care.